Pod. This is going to be so fun for me. Hi, I'm Amy Porter, and this is my podcast. My mission is to show people how to empower themselves through music, business, and media. I try to see as clearly as possible how I can help. I showcase the music that I've played and the people I've met along the way. I'm a wife and a stepmom. You might know me as a professor, a performer, a producer, a publisher, a recording artist. I'm the founder of a couple of nonprofits. Welcome in to my PorterFlute Pod.
Welcome to PorterFlute Pod. I'm so happy you're here.
Welcome to PorterFlute Pod. It's Season 7, Episode 6, which makes it a milestone. This is Episode 100. Thank you to all of you for all of your kindness, your support, your listenership. All this podcast stuff was new, and I ran for it during the pandemic, and you stayed with me. So thank you for being in PorterFlute Pod. For this special episode, I wanted to plan for the future of music. I wanted to plan it with my producers, my students, Isabella Carucci and Ella Hirsch. But before we plan, we have to get the lay of the land now. We have to consider the future of classical music and its education. How were we taught? And what did we play when we began? Back in 2009, I was asked by Carl Fisher Publishers to film a DVD called The ABCs of Flute for the Absolute Beginner. And I basically said what I knew to be true about beginning on the flute. And I played a few tunes like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, Frere Jacques, Good King Wenceslas, The Christmas Carol, Lightly Row, Ode to Joy by Beethoven, and Largo from the New World Symphony by Dvorak. And these pieces were so beginner that they wanted someone professional to play them and hear what they could sound like. Now, it was a great idea, but the music that was written for this DVD was, quite frankly, antiquated. And there are beginner books out there that I use that are wonderful. They have beautiful lessons, but rarely do they focus on the tunes that we play. The Christmas carols are a go-to, if I have to say, in a beginner book, and I could be in July and playing a Christmas carol. So with my one beginner, I say, can we please skip over the Christmas carol? And she says, but I like carols. So we have folk songs. We're really, really into what we know. But for this podcast, our producers are going to take us into the future. And they're going to give you a fun announcement during the podcast. So it's difficult to predict, but it's certain that our future in classical music and of this whole field will be different long after I'm gone. Some say that classical music will continue to exist, and yes, it does, and it will adapt to the modern world, while others say it will be reborn completely and reconnect with culture. In the field of music education, we have the foundation for the future of classical music. And that is a foundation that envisions a future where classical music education is considered as important as other subjects, and playing and listening to instruments is part of daily life. Here's what I found out about this nonprofit. It was founded by Baltimore Symphony principal trumpet Andrew Balio. The Foundation for the Future of Classical Music is a new think tank shifting cultural tides through scholarship and discourse. They are an independent research institution dedicated to a renaissance of the symphonic tradition through visionary leadership and contributions to strategic thinking, scholarly research, policy information, and public dialogue. They seek to advance discussions that transcend the crises in which orchestras find themselves today and to revive the symphonic tradition. As a research institution, first and foremost, the Foundation for the Future of Classical Music brings together the very best and brightest cultural thinkers, researchers, and business minds from inside and outside the arts and academic worlds. They enlist leaders of innovation who have revolutionized their own fields and industries by solving the same or similar problems therein. On their website, they say, through bold exposition, careful research, and original analysis, we verbalize, publish, and promote intellectual explorations that align with our cultural goals and strategically serve our audiences. You can find them at ffclassicalmusic.org. Again, that's the Foundation for the Future of Classical Music. Another place to look for clues into the future of classical music is the NYU Global Institute for Advanced Study. Led by Michael Beckerman, Paul Bogosian, and Kit Fine, this project consists of a working group of scholars, musicians, and arts administration professionals meeting to study the future of classical music, a future that these days is routinely said to be at risk. The list of steering committee members and project members is quite impressive and impactful. So let's discuss this. The general aim of their project is to study key aspects in the direction and development of the classical music as it enters the 21st century. Among the specific questions they hope to study, and we all should study, is there a looming crisis for the future vitality of the institutions that cater to the art form we call classical music? If so, is this crisis uniform across those institutions, or is it distributed in some ways? For example, does it vary geographically, country to country, region to region? Does it vary by type of institution, small versus large, opera versus symphonic, large symphony orchestra versus smaller ensembles? Where there is a crisis, what is its nature? Is it primarily financial, with the threat of deficits being the main cause of concern? If not, then what? If so, is this largely because of declining revenue from box office or declining revenue from other sources, like recordings, growing operational costs, or declining public sector support, declining private sector support, all of the above? If these are some of the characteristics of the looming crisis, what is the root cause? Declining interest from the audiences or aging audiences, along with failure to replenish from below? The content of programming? If so, is that because there's too much old stuff? Too much new stuff? Does it have to do with technological developments like the internet and the impact on artists' revenue? Does it have to do with unsustainable labor contracts, or all of the above? Assuming we can get a handle on what's going on, can something be done about it? And if so, what? And by whom? Assuming we can get a handle on what's going on, should something be done about it, or should we let matters take their natural course? And assuming we are on some sort of downward spiral, and nothing is to prevent it from worsening, what will the classical music landscape look like in 20 years? Michael Beckerman and Paul Bogosian published a book with Open Book Publishers in March of 2021. And they have this book called Classical Music, Contemporary Perspectives and Challenges, that address these questions. And here is what the book is about. The Kaleidoscope collection reflects on the multifaceted world of classical music as it advances through the 21st century, with insights drawn from leading composers, performers, academics, journalists, and arts administrators. Special focus is placed on classical music's defining traditions, challenges, and contemporary scope. Innovation in structure and approach, the volume comprises two parts. The first provides detailed analysis of issues central to classical music in the present day, including diversity, governance, the identity and perception of classical music, and the challenges facing the achievement of financial stability in nonprofit arts organizations. The second part offers case studies from Miami to Seoul, Korea, of the innovative ways in which some arts organizations have responded to the challenges analyzed in the first part. Introductory material as well as several of the essays provide some preliminary thoughts about the impact of the crisis that 2020 had on the world of classical music. You can find out more about this incredible study at gias.nyu.edu. I'm always excited to feature my students on the podcast, but what's more incredible is to feature my students on the podcast who have amazing ideas for the future of classical music. And the future of classical music begins in the classroom. It begins with educating people on how to play, what to play, and bringing us new traditions of learning. So please welcome producers Isabella Carucci, Ella Hirsch, and their dear friend, Maddie Levy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Isabella Carucci, and I am a co-producer for the PorterFlute Pod for this season, the Good Luck season. Welcome to another episode. Today, we're going to talk about the Flute Pedagogy Project, a nonprofit that I co-founded with my two friends that are with me here today, Ella Hirsch and Maddie Levy. The Flute Pedagogy Project commissions composers from historically underrepresented communities to write pieces for beginner and intermediate flutists. The commissioned pieces and other educational materials are available free of charge for parents, students, and educators. I'm currently the president of the Flute Pedagogy Project, overseeing all aspects of the nonprofit, including incorporation, performing our commissions, fundraising, our daily operations, and our board.
Hi, I'm Ella. I'm co-producing with Izzy this season, and I'm the secretary for Flute Pedagogy Project. I'm studying music education along with flute performance at the University of Michigan, and I'm responsible for creating educational resources for the project and also for advising our composers to help them reach their pedagogical goals within the pieces that they're writing for FPP.
Hi, I'm Maddie, and I'm the treasurer for the Flute Pedagogy Project. I just graduated from the University of Michigan with a master's in music composition and oboe performance. I also work as the composer liaison for Flute Pedagogy Project, which involves finding composers to commission, interviewing them for our website, and collaborating with them to fulfill the Flute Pedagogy Project mission. As you can see from this graph, the composers programmed by U.S. orchestras involve 78.2% of them being deceased composers, while living women of color only make up 4.6%, and other living composers only make up 17.2% of those works that are programmed.
And this is a quote from a flute student at a high school in Bloomington, Minnesota, who said, "I've been playing music for a majority of my life, but never by people that look like me or have similar stories to mine. Crazy, right? I think that needs to change."
We started the Flute Pedagogy Project to combat these disparities.
As the student brought up, music is a powerful storytelling tool, and it allows us to communicate with and understand others at a deeper emotional level. The stories that we tell in the music classroom and those that have been historically excluded send students a message about their importance as musicians and also as people. Expanding the repertoire of music available to young flute players to include music by composers of underrepresented identities can help instill a sense of belonging in students who share those identities and help them further explore themselves. Additionally, when students reflect on music by composers with a different perspective than their own, they develop their ability to question and reflect on the world around them. I believe that studying music offers young students a way to navigate their emotions and reflect on themselves and their place in the world, which I think is really important. Our project works to give access to diverse repertoire at a developmentally appropriate level so that these opportunities for discovery can be effective for beginner and intermediate students of all ages, including adults.
Thank you, Ella, for that. The Flute Pedagogy Project serves composers and students by bypassing these traditional systems of orchestras and school curricula. We commission and guide composers to write pedagogically informed pieces, creating a new audience of students, parents, and educators. Students have free access to these commissions on our website, in addition to more resources, such as study guides created by Ella and reviewed by a panel of local flute teachers, interviews with the composers to musically and culturally contextualize the pieces, and professional recordings of these commissions. So whenever you're making a nonprofit or a venture, you always have to look at other organizations that are similar to yours. So organizations that are similar to the Flute Pedagogy Project include Her Classical International Music Score Library Program, which you all know as IMSLP, Diversify the Stand, Conway Publications, and the National Flute Association. While all of these organizations are very important, none of them are both flute-focused and pedagogically based, like Flute Pedagogy Project. For example, one of our recent commissions uses a second teacher part and stomping to teach complex rhythms, which you can't say about any of the other organizations.
So to talk a little bit about our structure, we are a nonprofit in Michigan working on getting 501c3 tax-exempt status. We're directorship-based with Izzy as president, Ella as secretary, and me as treasurer. By 2025, we will have an expanded board of directors. We're applying for grants from the National Endowment for the Arts and other independent federal and state agencies. And we're currently funded by grants from the Excellence in Entrepreneurship, Career Empowerment, and Leadership Lab at the University of Michigan, and individual donations. The sheet music on our website is offered for free or pay what you can pricing, and we also have Izzy providing private lessons on our commission pieces. Some of our collaborators include Xenia St. Charles Iris Lilith and Ty Bloomfield and Natalia Camargo Duarte. Here's a sneak peek of Natalia's piece for FPP.
So a few things to look forward to from the Flute Pedagogy Project. Our website will be launching this summer. That is www.flutepedagogyproject.com, www.flutepedagogyproject.com. And we're looking forward to adding 3 brand new commission pieces to that website, along with complimentary educational resources, which are those video study guides, practice books. Website will also offer those professional reference recordings of each piece and feature interviews with our wonderful composers. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at the Flute Pedagogy Project. That's at the Flute Pedagogy Project to keep up to date with what's going on with the project, and make sure you don't miss our website launch.
So over the next 10 years, we want to, on our website, have featured works by over 50 composers. So that's commissioning at least 45 more composers than we have already. Get all of our commissions onto solo and ensemble festival lists in all 50 states, and have the Flute Pedagogy Project listed as a resource on composer resource lists, such as the American Composers Forum. So basically, in all, we envision a world where every flute student in the United States public school system will have played at least one of our commissions. Thank you so much, Professor Porter, for allowing us to be on your podcast today. And thanks again for listening.
Thank you for being in PorterFlute Pod, and thank you, Izzy and Ella, for helping me produce Season 7. If you enjoy our show and you want to review us and rate us, go to Apple Podcasts. You can find our show at PorterFlute.com. And you can find me at amyporter.com and on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube. I'm PorterFlute. Thanks for being in PorterFlute Pod. I'm so grateful for you.